Hi, I'm Gladys Bell, Project Leader for the Motherless Daughters Ministry podcast. We'd like to thank you for your support this past year as we shared treasures from the ministry. The COVID-19 pandemic ushered us into a growth period that produced our online support groups, online courses, the YouTube channel, an update to our website, making it more user-friendly, as well as the launch of this new venture. Going forward, in order to continue to offer quality programming to meet the increasing demand, we're asking for your financial support in the form of a donation of any size, your prayer support, and your continued listenership. During the coming weeks, while we are reviewing, evaluating, and updating our resources to retool the podcast, we will be rebroadcasting the most popular episodes from our first year. You will notice we have grown from the 9,000 Facebook followers mentioned in some of the episodes to more than 10,000 followers to date. As we looked at the analytics for our social media, these women, and men by the way, represent more than 10 different countries. This testifies to the common ground of grief. So we invite you to join us for this special series. We are grateful for your presence in our audience, your prayers, and donations. There are stories of so many voices of experience yet to share, and we look forward to 2023. Today, we're bringing you the most popular podcast of our first year. Mary Ellen Collins, our founder and executive director, reveals her personal story of loss that gave birth to the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Let's hear that episode.
Are you a motherless daughter? What if we told you we have 20 years worth of truth treasures, pearls of wisdom, and diamonds of hope to help you with your mother loss? We do, and we share all things mother loss on Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, a podcast by the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Give yourself some self-care and listen as we discuss grief, regret, anger, redemption, closure, and so much more.
Hi, Gladys Bell here. You have just happened upon the very first episode of Nurturing Words from the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Is there anything in your life you have carried around for years but never revealed to anyone? Well, listen in while the founder unpacks the inspiration for what is now followed by more than 9,000 women from all over the world.
I am so excited you're here as we will launch Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, the first podcast from Motherless Daughters Ministry. Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience hand you pearls and unearthed treasures from our 20-plus years of experience. If I haven't met you before, I am Mary Ellen Collins, founder of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. We have been serving motherless women for over 20 years. So much to share. I am excited. The Motherless Daughters Ministry was birthed during a very difficult time in my life. Its birth and my story are so connected. I will share some of it now and more of it, my personal mother loss story, in later podcasts. There's so much to share. Ever hear of a desert experience or maybe a wilderness experience? Well, a desert experience helps us clarify and defines what the real priorities in life are. It builds and deepens us in things that our mountaintop experiences could never do. It clarifies and defines what our priorities are in life. For me, my desert experience followed my wilderness experience. A wilderness experience is usually thought of as tough times, where we endure discomfort and trials, and it's often linked to a mountaintop experience. The struggle follows a success of some kind. And the trial period comes on the heels of personal accomplishment or achievement. Pleasant things in life are unable to be enjoyed, or they may be absent altogether. I was about to begin my own personal wilderness experience. This was the time when the ministry was conceived. Backing up, I will tell you that my mother had died when I was 15 years old, but my father had abandoned my brother and I, who was 2 years older than I, 5 years before that. Like most of us, with her death, I set aside my grief. I did not want to deal with it. I just wanted to look like a normal 15-year-old, and then a normal adult. One day, in a rush to serve my business clients, I fell down a flight of steps, landing full force on my face, breaking my nose, my arm, and splitting open my eyebrow area. It looked similar to a melon that had been smashed against a wall. You know it's pretty bad when the ER triage nurse takes one look and asks, "Do you know any plastic surgeons?" 25 stitches later, I had unsuccessfully convinced the plastic surgeon to do a pro bono facelift. But I was good to go. Life could continue now, or so I thought. Shortly after that, I began having major neurological problems. I had involuntary eye movements, which is called nystagmus. I had double vision. I could not balance myself. I could not walk. I became disabled. I had a previously undiagnosed congenital problem, which I was born with, called an Arnold-Chiari malformation. I had never had describable symptoms before that fall. That fall is what brought on all of my symptoms. I ended up needing brain surgery to make space and release the pressure in my head. During my lengthy recovery, emotionally, I was a mess. Before, I had been Dr. Collins. Before surgery, I had a thriving business practice. Before surgery, I traveled all over the world. It was a no-brainer, excuse my pun, to talk in front of thousands of people. But now, I had lost my independence. I had lost my identity. Who am I? The old me had died, and now I did not know who I was. I sought out counseling. I knew others had to have some similar experiences of identity loss. You know, being retired, being laid off, making career change, they would all have similar experiences. This is a good idea. Now hang in there, we're almost to the delivery room. Through my many counseling sessions, I discovered the old me had not died. I still possessed all of those talents, those skills and characteristics that had contributed to my previous success. Yippee! As the counseling sessions were winding down, and the counselor spoke the words, "I think we're done," I burst into tears. Confused, she decided we were not done. What was happening? She was abandoning me. My sense of abandonment kicked in. Inside, I was shouting, "Don't go. Don't leave me. Wait, wait, wait." I was talking to my mother. In continuing sessions, we unearthed that potato. I had never grieved for the loss of my mother. The counseling took a whole new direction. Through many tears, she helped me begin my grieving process. That was 35 years after the loss of my mother. She encouraged me to find others with similar experiences. I sought out my close acquaintances at church. Do you know anybody who has experienced mother loss? To my surprise, they all had lost their mothers before they were 20 years old. None of us had ever talked about it. We gathered together and began. We grieved our loss. We held each other. We talked. This was the beginning of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Soon the ministry took on a life of its own, including all types of mother loss. Those with living mothers, those with deceased mothers. From its humble origins in my living room, the Motherless Daughters Ministry has grown to become an international 501(c) nonprofit organization reaching over 10,000 women in 10 different countries. So much to share. But now, on with the show. Join me as we go oyster diving in each episode, gathering the pearls and treasures in nurturing words, voices of experience.
Where can you find these women? On our Facebook page at Motherless Daughters Ministry. There you will find blog posts, videos, and nurturing conversations. Just type Motherless Daughters Ministry in the Facebook search bar. Be sure to follow us while you're there. We can't wait for you to visit.
I'm glad to be back with you. Let's go oyster diving. I want to tell you some of the things that I think are real pearls in starting this ministry and with the podcast that I just recorded for you. And one of the first things I think about is God will always use your hurt if you let him. So as wounded as I was, going through mother loss and having the absence of a father, all those hurts, he has brought me to this place, and I use those things every day. I think that's one of the big first pearls. Another one, I think sometimes that when something happens to us and it stops us in our tracks, and for my instance, I was disabled, we think many times God's punishing us, but I really think that he has got something big in store for you. Sometimes you have to pause to let him work in you. There's another pearl I think that I want to share with you because of all my experiences. Every time that I did something, I thought, that was what I was supposed to do in my life. And then I go on to something else and say, that's what I was going to do. So I really think that every experience you have leads you someplace, and you will use all those things to do God's work. And for me, I found that everything I learned in my life has brought me to this place, and I use these things all the time. The other thing I think that we have to acknowledge is abandonment. It shows up throughout our lifetime. It is ugly, and it will show up, and it will be there. So we have to recognize that. And the grieving process, it's never too late to grieve. Never too late. We can always lay our burdens down.
For more information, text the word motherless at 22828. Thank you for listening to Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, a podcast by the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Join us next time.
Thank you again for joining us for this special episode. That was our very first podcast and the foundation story of the entire Motherless Daughters Ministry. We recognize and honor our founder, Mary Ellen Collins, for following the leading of the Lord. As a successful entrepreneur of an international business, she survived devastating losses that completely turned her life around. Through layers of discovery, Mary Ellen finally uncovered the impact of mother loss on her life at the age of 15. Her willingness to be transparent enough to expose her journey through transformative experiences opened the door for the growing ministry that exists today. The Motherless Daughters Ministry is unique in that through a faith-based lens, we address not only loss through death, but the other areas of loss that impact life just as much and sometimes more. We salute and thank you today, Mary Ellen Collins, as you yet give leadership and guidance to multiple thousands. The encouraging message is to take the next step into a healing pathway, helping others as you go, and remember that you are not walking alone.